Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your Master of Ceremonies, Tom Zawislik.
Hey, everybody! Are you happy to be at the 7th Annual Maryland Tech Invitational? We are all so thrilled to have you all here. We have 40 teams by invitation. As I understand it, there was well over 120 teams that applied for this. So you are in a very, very special place on a very special weekend, and you're with each other. As I said, we have 40 teams here. We have teams, of course, from the USA, but let's welcome our teams from Romania and Brazil as well. This is truly an international tournament. And once again, we are thrilled to be here at the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory as our host site. Give it up for Johns Hopkins APL, please. Yesterday, we had an amazing presentation on APL and what they're doing here. There are over 8,000 employees on this site, and they're working on the future of space exploration among many, many, many other projects. And yesterday, we had a special presentation on what they're doing specifically on the moon and moon landing and their contributions. Incredible contributions for our country and the space program. This year's theme is, and the focus is on opportunities in the trades. Now, I know with the FIRST, especially if you're involved with FIRST, that a lot of the focus is on what college you're going to go to, what engineering program you're going to take. Well, you know, the focus really needs to be on workforce development. And that's our focus here, is on workforce development. So it's all inclusive of important trades that support our country and support the world, actually support all countries in the world in these very important jobs that don't necessarily require a college education, but do require very special skills and training. So the education and careers that really support our worldwide goals could be in industrial, motor and control and power system sector, manufacturing technologies, electronics, robotics, of course, lots of opportunities there. So with that, I'm going to introduce a couple of people that are here today that you'll want to meet, and we're going to have a very special guest speaker. First, I'd like to introduce, and please stand up, Aaron Phillips. There's Aaron Phillips. Wave your hand, please, Aaron. Aaron is with admissions with the Pittsburgh Institute of Avionics and the School for Aviation Mechanics. So Aaron is here to meet you all. Aaron will be going through the pits. He wants to meet each and every one of you here today. So he will be in the pits with you. He's already been in the pits with you, but please meet with Aaron. Talk about those careers in avionics, specifically in mechanical opportunities in the avionics industry. Guys, these are also, not only they're highly skilled jobs, they're super challenging, and they're pretty good pay, too. So just remember that. But thank you, Aaron, for being here today and meeting with our students. Very much appreciated. I'd also introduce now our guest speaker from the Association for Manufacturing Technology, which is located in McLean, Virginia. So what the Association for Manufacturing Technology, or AMT, does is they support manufacturers with vital information on technological developments in support of enhancing the fourth industrial revolution. And that's what we're in right now, especially with AI. We are in the fourth industrial revolution. You'll hear more about this and what he does from our speaker. But a matter of introduction, our speaker is named Stephen LaMarca, and please welcome Stephen. He has a Bachelor of Science. Stephen has a Bachelor of Science from Norwalk University. He's very passionate about mechanical devices, and he oversees and operates AMT's test bed, 5-axis, CNC, mill, and cobot is what he does. Why he's speaking here today, he is an enthusiastic IMT workhorse, injects humor into technical subjects, and he also co-hosts the AMT Tech Trends podcast. He also tracks industry and R&D 10 trends in the market, and I'll tell you what he does is amazing, and we're really have him here as our guest speaker. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you so much, Tom. So I gotta thank you again, Tom, and I want to thank the Johns Hopkins Lab of Applied Physics, or Applied Physics Laboratory. When I was most of your ages, with my GPA, let's put it this way, Johns Hopkins was not in my vocabulary. Fortunately, though, I'm really passionate about a bunch of expensive hobbies, and that led me to the manufacturing industry. So, with that, yep, I'm a technology analyst, so as Tom said, I track research and development throughout the manufacturing industry. That basically means I need to stay on top of what the latest technologies is, what the latest alloys that we're 3D printing to send to space, send to the moon, stuff like that. And I write a lot of technical articles, some snarky, more like tabloid articles. We like to have fun a lot. And I'm also an amateur machinist. We have a test bed at the office, and that includes a 5-axis CNC mill, and we like to make parts, but more importantly, it's for education purposes. I've had a few FIRST Robotics teams actually come to the office to work on our test bed to machine some parts, and also for developing some of our own products. AMT is the owner of a manufacturing standard or communication standard. If you're familiar with cars, it's like the OBD2 standard, but for machine tools and making stuff. But let me stop talking now. Let me show you guys my trailer for the latest season of Road Trippin' with Steve in Detroit.
Everybody in the 313, put your manufacturing hands up to follow me, because we're going to season 3 of Road Trippin' with Steve.
Yeah, I'm paid to be a cornball. Yeah, it's really fun.
I'm paid to be a cornball. Yeah, it's really fun.
Every time you try to adjust the volume or something? Yeah.
So I'd mentioned that it was an honor to be here at the APL, but more importantly, it's an honor to be in front of you guys, you boys and girls, you students, you young ladies and gentlemen. It's a real pleasure. In one of those clips up there, I was talking to 2 PhDs at Lyft in Detroit. Every now and then, when Lyft, who is a Manufacturing USA institute, they do a lot of contract work with the Department of Defense. Every now and then, when I get to sit down at dinner with those guys, some dark political stuff comes up, like, you know, so-and-so country has more hypersonic missiles than us. But I said all that dark stuff just to say this. A couple weeks back, we hosted at AMT's Cornerstone Week, which is basically an annual thing that we do to do team building with our internal staff. We hosted 3 FIRST Robotics teams, one of which was here, Equilibrium.exe. Raise your hands. Heck yeah. Thank you guys so much for being here. When I was listening to them talk about your robot, it restored a lot of my faith in humanity, and I was like, wow, this is the next generation of manufacturing, this is the next generation of skilled laborers, and you know, I'm not worried about hypersonic missiles anymore. So I want to bring up the manufacturing technology. So what is the manufacturing industry? You guys probably already know this. It's the industry that makes things. Everything that's made is the manufacturing industry, but specifically what AMT likes to focus on in terms of manufacturing technology, machining, taking a big piece of metal and cutting it down to a final part, Robotics, you guys know already, and all know about that. Automation, almost the same thing but different. 3D printing, additive manufacturing, and digital technologies. Digital technology speaking more towards what I was talking about earlier when it came to communication standards between machine tools. That's what AMT likes to do, and that's what we focus on. Let's go to the next one. Go ahead and press play. So one of AMT's primary products is IMTS. It's a trade show, and it's actually the second largest trade show in the world. The first being CES, Consumer Electronics Show. But IMTS is basically the world trade show. It happens every 2 years on even numbered years. So obviously it didn't happen this year. It's not going to happen, but it's going to be next year, and it was last year. IMTS is basically a trade show that's massive, and all of manufacturing technology manufacturers, builders of machine tools like CNC machines and robots, go to this show to show off what the latest tech is and to actually sell some of the machines there. What's really cool about this show is you don't go there just to see what's new, but you also go there with hopefully a blank check to come home with something. All right, so this next video, this was at the last IMTS. This was on the front page of Reddit last year. This guy basically 3D printed this housing that holds miniature turbojets to make a jetpack. He was there. It dominated Reddit for like a month straight. And yeah, that thing is so cool and runs so hot that it burnt some patches in the grass down below. And McCormick Place in Chicago is very particular about their grass, and we may have had to pay like a $10K fine to repair that grass. But anyway, let's go to the next one. Oh, and one of my favorite things that I got to see, and I know you guys already know them, but roll this video. This is Boston Dynamics Spot. I got to see one at IMTS. I'm in the process of writing a business plan to get our hands on a spot from Boston Dynamics so I can walk my dog Charlie and Spot together and build a bunch of publicity for AMT. That would be really fun, but you guys have seen this. Let's go to the next one. All right, so one of my favorite things about AMT and working in the manufacturing industry, sure, the technology is really cool, and seeing new metal every day is really sick. But even better than that is getting to know the people that make the industry happen, and the industry is what makes the rest of the world go round. So up in the left, that's Melanie Lang. Melanie Lang is an aerospace engineer. She recently, well, actually within the last few years, she decided aerospace engineer is cool. I got my degrees. I've built up a name for myself, but I think metal can be 3D printed better. So she came up with she invented a new form of metal additive, made her own company, and Formalloy is now a major Department of Defense contractor for laying down metal material. There's a few other guys and girls here that are very influential, and then there's me being a cornball again. I'd like to talk about Anomi in the lower left-hand corner. He was a professional basketball player. Really cool guy, and I think he may have gotten injured and realized in the hospital or something that, oh man, maybe athletics isn't for me. Maybe this isn't going to take me all the way to retirement. So he got a degree in aerospace engineering, and now he's in manufacturing as well. It's a really cool story, and it's a really cool industry to be in. Let's go to the next one. Andrew Crow is another industry influencer that's really cool. We can skip through this. Sorry, this is a really long presentation that I got to squeeze in 10 minutes. This is a video of some water jet cutting. So I want to speak on this a little bit later because this is important towards, I'm sure you guys have actually water jet cut a bunch of panels for some of your robots. Raise your hand if you've at least had something made for your robot using a water jet cutter. That's at least like a third of you guys. So let's go to the next one. Oh yeah, please. All right, so some of that's really cool, but I think he was a little wrong, and it's probably not going to happen anytime soon. Don't want to let anybody down, but a $2,000 basketball is not going to replace an old-fashioned leather basketball with a rubber lining that can be made for less than a couple bucks. So, but until then, maybe you guys can make it cheaper. Who knows? So there's some more parts. Oh, who here likes metal? Who listens to metal? You know, I like metal alloys too, but actually listens to metal. There we go. All right. So, did you know that there's a lot of metal bands that are actually involved in manufacturing? And Metallica even has a scholarship to send you to school and get a job in manufacturing. Let's go to the next one. So, not just does anybody? I know this is really hard to see his face, but does anybody recognize who that is? That's a Rolex movement, but this guy's Dan Spieth. Anybody that had their hand up for metal, do you know who Dan Spieth is? Okay, he's the lead guitarist for a metal band that actually started the whole craze, Anthrax, and he is actually a third-generation watchmaker, so he does a lot with manufacturing too. And he realized that, you know, probably being a musician won't get me all the way to retirement, so then he got into manufacturing, and now he's making watches too. But anyway, let me just wrap up, because I think I might be going long. This whole presentation has been a bit of a whirlwind, because the past 2 months I've been buying a house and moving, and so I legitimately feel like I just woke up from a coma. But in the process of that move, my fiance and I both have cars that are not good enough for moving stuff. We both have each have two manual transmission, 2-door sports cars that are no good for hauling things. They're only good for hauling ass. So I had to go to my mom, and while she was warming up some chicky nuggies for me to borrow her car, I was fidgeting, and I took a look at her car key. And she has a 2016 Subaru Forester. And while I was looking at the actual key itself, the beam of the key, I noticed that this wasn't just a standard stamped piece of metal. This was a water jet cut piece of metal. It's not laser cut because it doesn't have a burnt edge around it. But you could tell it was water jet cut because the grain of the metal on one side of the sheet was much finer, and the other side was a lot more coarser and a lot more spread out and jagged. That's the main tell if something is water jet cut as opposed to laser jet or even using a bandsaw. The next thing that I noticed about the key that was really cool, and I know this is tough because I'm describing it, but the ridge in the key was circular and in a jagged pattern that could only be made using a flat or square-faced end mill. And I thought this was cool because typically keys are hydraulic pressed and formed, and then they take a grinding wheel to cut each tooth of the key. But this made me think of something that my boss said to me when I was getting this presentation ready for you guys, was give them something to take away with it. And I'll say this, and I think other people in the aerospace industry can speak for this too, but if you know how stuff is made, and you can tell how something was made and on what machines it was made just by looking at it and feeling it, you can actually get paid a lot of money outside of the manufacturing industry. So, but you need the manufacturing industry for that initial experience. And I think you guys have a huge head start into joining the manufacturing industry, and from there, the world is your oyster. So thank you so much. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll be around. Oh my God, that was...
Thank you very much, Stephen. And Stephen's going to be around if you'd like to learn more about what Stephen does and about the technologies that his organization supports. Please meet with Stephen throughout the day. So this event would not be possible without volunteers. So we just want to recognize the key volunteers here very quickly that make this event happen. There are about 77 volunteers here today. That's an incredible... That is an incredible turnout, and they're here because they want to be here. They recognize the value of MTI, the Maryland Tech Invitational, and what it provides to the 40 teams and students that are here today. Very quickly, let's introduce Amber Dreisman. Amber is... She is the tournament director and the founder of this party we're having here today. Thank you. And her son Josh is working with her today as the deputy director. Tournament coordinator Rose Young. I don't know if Rose is in the room or not. There's Rose over there. Thank you, Rose. A very special person. Her very first year working with MTI is Shija Phillips. Shija, you here? There's Shija. I think she's here. Siege is the one that, as a volunteer coordinator, made sure that all 77 volunteers here were rolled and had their roles and were assigned appropriately. Judge advisor Mike Curich. Mike Curich, if you're in the house. Thank you very much, Mike. Great job. You guys have finished your judging this morning. FTA Ryan Wolfram. FTA Ryan? There's Ryan. Thank you, Ryan. Lead inspector Andy Dreisman. Andy in the house. Our CSA, you all know him and love him, Phil Malone. Head referee, Jeff Kalbach. Our lead cure, Mo French, every year does an incredible job getting you guys down here. Thank you very much, Mo, for your coordination and making sure everybody gets down on this field on time. Pit administration is Tom Milnes. Probably met Tom out there in the pits. And our scorekeeper today, Mike Davidson. Very special introduction for our production support. And our Twitch live streaming is coming from you from First Updates Now, otherwise known as Fun. Tyler Olds working the game desk. And he will be joined by Abbas Jane. And Abbas is the one that'll be doing interviews with you. So with that, just one quick reminder. You've heard a lot from our head referees and everything else, but we have 3 rows here in front. They are intended for the teams, the support teams, and the teams to observe the teams that are on the field. And there's signs in those 3 rows. So please observe those signs. Keep those rows empty for the team mentors, coaches, and other team members that want to see their teams playing on the field close up. And with that, please stand for our national anthem. All right, we are ready to load up the fields for match number 1 on field number 2. Match number 2 on field number 2. So therefore, Daphne Fraunfelter will be game announcer today, as will Caleb Dreisman. Caleb, what teams do we need on the field right now?
We need